Do you think that the Senate Republicans or Republicans in general would go after him about Ukraine, about his son and the ties to Burisma?
If you can run for president and you were in charge of the Ukrainian anti-corruption campaign as vice president, and your son's sitting on the most corrupt company in the country while you're trying to clean up the country, yeah, that'd come up.
There's an old saying, people in glass houses should not throw stones. If the Republicans go after Joe Biden's son, the Dems might want to turn the lens on the current family in the White House. Just this week, it was announced that Donald Trump's son-in-law and advisor, Jared Kushner, is selling his stake in a real estate venture called Cadre that benefited from so-called opportunity zone tax breaks that Jared personally pushed for. 3 years ago, Jared's stake was worth between $5 and $25 million. Now, it's worth between $25 and $50 million. So a possible net gain of $45 million. Ka-ching! Joining me now is Tim O'Brien, former senior advisor to the Bloomberg 2020 campaign, and Andrea Bernstein, co-host of the Trump Inc. podcast from WNYC and ProPublica, and the author of American Oligarchs. All right, it's Women's History Month. So I'm going to go ladies first, because I ran into you in the hallway. I was like, can you please go on my show? Because I heard you on TV talking about this. Jared Kushner seems to be doing the thing that Republicans are accusing Joe Biden's son of doing, meaning what is he profiting from? Because his time in office has included pushing for this tax break.
Right. So let's break it down. Yeah. So this firm, Cadre, was set up by Jared Kushner's brother and Jared Kushner, and it is a online real estate investment platform. So they have this company. Jared Kushner didn't divest. People told me when I was reporting my book that Jared Kushner's father was advised by many people, Jared needs to make a decision, either clean break or stay with the company. But he had this middle ground. So where he did not divest, and we know the most recent filings were last spring. So we know as of last spring, he and his wife Ivanka Trump were making $135 million up to from passive profits from their companies while working in the White House. So now he has sold this company, which means that he has to declare that there's a potential conflict. And at the same time, he and his wife, Ivanka Trump, pushed for this tax break, which went through with no debate, no hearings. It was page 130, subsection Z in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, but it is something that this company, Cadre, has been directly profiting from and that his family company can directly profit from. And that is the inherent conflict, and it is going on now. And I should also say Jared Kushner, I mean, he's one of the most powerful people in America. He's outlasted 4 chiefs of staff. So it's not an insignificant conflict or an insignificant question or a theoretical question, as it was with Joe Biden. It is an actual situation right now. Is he profiting from decisions that he made while in the White House?
And you mentioned Ivanka. Here's Ivanka, and this is on her Chinese trademarks, because like the idea is, you know, supposedly, according to them, is that the former vice president is vice president, and therefore his son gets pulled onto a board. Somehow that's corruption. Here's Ivanka. On the same day, Trump and his daughter dined with Chinese President Xi Jinping at Mar-a-Lago in Florida in April 2017, while Donald Trump was already president. China awarded her 3 preliminary trademark approvals for jewelry, handbags, and spa services. In all, she has obtained more than a dozen Chinese trademarks since entering the White House, ensuring her access to the world's second largest economy if she goes back into business. And here's a tweet by her brother. Some have, you know, derided him as the fail son, but I'll just call him Donald Jr. Retweeting a Daily Caller article, oh, that's fresh, about Hunter Biden, saying, Don Jr., it's almost like the whole Biden family is entirely dependent on Joe holding public office. Exclusive, Joe Hunter Biden,
You know, the Trump family are epic grifters, and this goes back generations. Fred Trump made his money by intersecting with both the federal government and state government in New York. Donald came up through New York, intersecting with local government and in Atlantic City. They are now in the White House, and all of them are dipping their faces into the till. And if the Republicans really want to make an issue out of Hunter Biden, which is very low-hanging fruit that I don't think most Democratic voters care about anyway, there is going to be a scorched earth response aimed at all of the Trump children that is unlike anything they've experienced thus far in the media.
Well, could it be from your former candidate? Because Michael Bloomberg has got a lot of money to spend, and there's a lot of ads you could make on something like that.
I think it's an important moment for the American people to be woke about how rampant the financial conflicts of interest are among Trump's children, the president himself, their absolute failure to distance themselves from the Trump organization, and all the deals they've continued to pursue while in the White House, whether it's the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C., 666 Fifth Avenue, which has a long and ugly history with Jared and the Chinese government, and Jared and the Russian government, and Jared and his family's struggling finances at the time. All of this stuff will become, I think, food for thought for everyone.
Go on.
Joy, in the whole issue with Ivanka in China there's a word for the sons and daughters of influential people. It's called fuerdai. And so it doesn't even so much matter what our structures are in this country, around the world.
Yeah.
Giving them money and enabling their business deals is seen by foreign leaders, and we know this from many, many avenues, as a way to influence the U.S. government.
That's right.
That's how they see it. And that's why this is a problem, and that's why our own U.S. intelligence agencies were concerned, for example, not U.S. intelligence agencies, but White House staff were concerned about giving Jared Kushner security.
Well, and in fact, remember there were the foreign intelligence taps that came up? Several countries all said they thought Jared was an easy mark because he was inexperienced, ignorant, and had rampant financial conflict.
And it's not just the Trump family. I mean, you've got, there's a piece from the New York Times, and it's a piece, an expose called A Bridge to China and Her Family's Business in the Trump Cabinet. And this is about Secretary Elaine Chao, whose husband is Mitch McConnell, who Donald Trump hired. In China, the Chaos are no ordinary family. They run an American shipping company called Foremost, with deep ties to the economic and political elite in China, where most of the company's business is centered. Foremost has received hundreds of millions of dollars in loan commitments from a bank run by the Chinese government. Item, Rudy Giuliani, his son makes $95,000 of your tax money working as a sports liaison. I don't know what that is, but they hired Rudy's son. You could go on and on and on about the corruption internally. I think Newt Gingrich, his wife, got a deal to be the Vatican ambassador.
Wilbur Ross.
They're all getting something.
Betsy DeVos.
Betsy DeVos.
Let's go on down the line.
Because Trump set the tone when he stood up at that press conference in January of 2017 and said he wasn't going to divest, that he was going to give control of his company to Donald Trump Jr., who obviously has the same name as his father, and Eric Trump.
It's how he makes his money.
And so then the Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner did not divest. The cabinet secretaries who are billionaires did not divest. And it runs through the administration this idea that you can both carry on the people's business and your own private business. And
at the same time,
we know that it is highly problematic.
Let's go through a few more just before we go. Tal McGoey is the Attorney General Barr's son-in-law. So William Barr, who held his parties, his holiday party at the Trump Hotel, where all the foreign governments also pay Donald Trump by swiping their cards. He is the White House Office of General Counsel's office. He works there. Obviously, Rudy Giuliani's son, the Special Assistant for Sports and Public Liaison. Kyle Unaska, who is Eric Trump's brother-in-law, is the Chief of Staff of the Office of Energy Policy and Systems Analyst. Brett Tolley is the husband of Ann Donaldson, former Chief of Staff to White House Counsel, Deputy Assistant Attorney General, Department of Justice. We could go on. Right? And we haven't even gotten into, we're going to have you guys back to talk about the money that went into the state of Kentucky, which is why Mitch McConnell is called Moscow Mitch. It's because a whole lot of anyway, there's lots of fun stuff going on at the White House. I'm sure Tim O'Brien will tell us more about it, and maybe some ads, maybe we'll see. Andrea Bernstein, Tim O'Brien, both, thank you very much. Still to come.